And now the Caspian Report will give a brief historical background of the territorial disputes that have been going on in Mali for decades.
In the 19th century, the French colonized Mali and were mostly interested in the southern parts of the country and its gold mines. France wasn't really interested in the north, and they did not want to station forces there, because it was a waste of resources. But on the other hand, France could not just let it be a no man's land, and so they armed the local clans to fight each other. So a government was never really established. Under France's colonial rule, the name and the borders of Azawad changed several times. First the region became part of Mali, then it became part of Upper Senegal and Middle Niger, then it became part of Senegambia and Niger, then it was switched back to Upper Senegal and Niger. The French basically had no clue how to draw the borders, and the gap between North and South Mali became bigger and bigger. Eventually in 1920, the French decided that Azawad was best to be part of Mali, as it had historically. So when Mali became independent in the 1960s, the ethnic Tuareg rebelled for an independent Azawad. They rebelled again in the 1990s and once more in 2007. All three attempts were unsuccessful, but this didn't hold them back from rebelling again in 2012. Only this time, the Tuaregs were much better armed.
The Liberation of Azawad, commonly referred to as MNLA, have teamed up with the Ansar Dine, the Defenders of Faith. Ansar Dine is an Islamic group who wish to spread Sharia law across Mali. Sharia law is the Islamic moral code that gives religious motive for gaining independence of Azawad.
The liberation of Azawad has caused reactions from Mali and France for security and economic reasons. As reported by The Economist, the Islamic group Ansar Dine is believed to be involved with Al-Qaeda. France fears that the spread of this conflict will allow a safe haven for this terrorist group.
The Rome Statute of the ICC defines genocide as, number 1, killing members of the group. Number 2, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group.
5 men, each with a hand and foot amputated, recover in hospital in the town of Gao in northeastern Mali. The crude punishment was meted out after they were accused of attacking a bus, the latest to fall prey to hardline Islamic law since jihadi rebels and Tuaregs seized power in Mali's north following a coup in the capital Bamako. Gao's Islamic Commission found the men guilty, and the amputations took place on the 10th of September. The men remain under armed guard and cannot leave the hospital. Doctors respond with caution.
These people are doing well, very well. There are no problems.
Are they suffering?
For now, I can't say they're suffering. There are no infections, there's nothing. I think it's okay.
Staff have made them wooden crutches, but as yet they don't have the strength to use them. The men still have no idea when they'll be allowed to leave the hospital or what they will do once they're free.
Number 3, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring its physical destruction in whole or in part. Number 4, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group.
In the clinic, they're treating diseases caused by malnutrition and poor sanitation. Health centres in the villages around Timbuktu have stopped working, and the Islamists prevent women from leaving their homes.
In the course of the preliminary examination, the office has identified potential cases of sufficient gravity to warrant further action. I have determined that there is a reasonable basis to believe the following crimes were committed: murder, mutilation, cruel treatment and torture, intentionally directing attack against protected objects, the passing of sentences and the carrying out of executions without previous judgment pronounced by a regularly constituted court, pillaging, and rape. My office will ensure a thorough and impartial investigation and will bring justice to Malian victims by investigating who are the most responsible for these alleged crimes.
The Malian government is responsible for the safety and security of their citizens, though they have failed to keep up with this responsibility since the collapse of the government in 2012 and the rebellions from the Tuareg rebels, the Ansar Dine, and the MNLA. So far, France has placed troops in Mali to intervene and have asked the U.S. to send aid as well, though the U.S. is a bit hesitant due to the past hostages taken in Algeria.
Preventing global conflict starts in the field. Working for the International Crisis Group, we're embedded in the community. We can see, hear, and feel change as it occurs. We are independent eyes on the ground.
We're present in the world's most dangerous conflicts, the ones that hit the headlines and the ones the world.
The crisis group does not hold a full responsibility in the Malian situation. This is because they decide which situations that they become involved in themselves. They base this on if an international value can be obtained and if measures can be followed through safely.
According to the UN, the Security Council adopted Resolution 2165 in June of 2014, further deciding that the mission should focus on ensuring security, stabilization, and protection of civilians, as well as supporting national political dialogue and reconciliation. It also works to assist the reestablishment of state authority, the rebuilding of the security sector, and the promotion and protection of human rights.
We recommend that the other states involved in the Malian situation intervene more aggressively. This includes the United States and France. Both are affected if a safe haven is created for al-Qaeda, and France is affected by the electricity production that Mali provides.
Mali must react in the same fashion in order to ensure the safety of their citizens. In this picture, you can see that the deployment of Malian and French troops is widespread and definitely necessary.
It is recommended that international organizations.
We believe that the Malian government is the most responsible for the actions that have been happening in its country. We believe this because they did not act quickly enough when discovering that they were under attack by rebels, thus resulting in a great loss of territory and an unnecessary loss of lives. We believe that the Malian government is the most responsible for the actions that have been happening in its own country. We believe this because they did not immediately seek help when they learned of the acts that the rebels were doing. If they would have acted sooner, they could have saved themselves a lot of territory and a lot of people's lives. We do not believe, however, that they should receive consequences for not acting soon enough. Instead, they should continue to fight back against the rebels and hopefully receive help from other states.